Thank God Captain Ibrahim Traore has survived this coup again. Thank God. We thank God so much. I don't know why the coup is always on Burkina Faso at this time around. Or because the country is trying to be a sovereign country. The country is trying to be on its own. Do not want to be ruled by any colonial master. That is why the torment is too much. And the most painful part is that we blacks are the ones behind it. It's so sad, but thanks to the general of Uganda for informing Burkina Faso earlier on this. You got it.
You, my people. My brother from Uganda reached out just in time, and because of that phone call, Burkina Faso was spared another dark page in our history. I owe him gratitude, and I owe you, the people of this country, the truth about what really happened. On the night of January 3rd, the city was silent. The Harmattan winds swept across Ouagadougou, carrying the dust of the desert and the scent of dry leaves. But behind that quiet, something sinister was unfolding. I had just returned from a late-night briefing at the command center, reviewing reports about suspicious movements along our southern corridors. My intelligence officers were uneasy, but even they didn't yet see the full picture. It was around midnight when I got the message from Kampala. General Muhoozi did not waste words. His tone was steady, but urgent. "Brother," he said, "watch your southern flank. There is a whisper of treachery moving in the dark. I want to begin with gratitude. If I'm alive to speak to you today, it is because a brother in East Africa, General Muhoozi Kainerugaba of Uganda, refused to stay silent when he saw danger moving toward Burkina Faso. He reached out and warned me before the storm arrived. That single act of solidarity saved not only my life, but the future of our revolution. And for that I thank him from my heart and on behalf of all Burkinabe people. Now let me tell you what really happened, how the latest coup attempt against my leadership unfolded, how it was stopped before it even began, and what it means for the destiny of our country. For several days at the start of 2026, my instincts told me that something strange was happening inside the army. Small signs, nothing dramatic, but enough to make me question. A unit relocated supplies without my authorization. Certain officers began showing up again, in towns they'd left months ago. Reports from intelligence came in fragments. Intercepted radio chatter, discreet meetings in Kaya and Waheguya. At first it looked like routine chatter from smugglers or militants. But I knew the smell of a network forming. By January 3rd it became undeniable that forces hostile to our government were preparing something. I could feel it. Those of us who have lived through coups know that quiet before the explosion. Then came the call. It was late evening in Ouagadougou, when my aide hurried into the room and said a secure channel from Kampala was requesting direct connection. On the line was General Muhoozi Kainerugaba, the Chief of Defense Forces of Uganda, a man whose commitment to an independent Africa I have long respected. His voice was calm but firm. "Brother Ibrahim," he said, "there are movements around you that are not normal. My people picked up communications between a group in Togo and your southern flank. The plan is not an open coup. They intend to remove key men near you quietly, within days. Be alert." At first I was silent. To hear that kind of warning from far away in Uganda, it shook me. Muhoozi's intelligence network had sensed the danger before it reached my table. I thanked him and promised swift action. I hung up, looked at my officers and said one sentence. "The enemy is nearer than we think." Immediately, I called an emergency session of the National Intelligence Agency. For months we had upgraded our entire security infrastructure, communication intercept systems, local informant networks, even drones for surveillance. But we hadn't expected the threat to come from those once inside our own ranks. We began tracing every encrypted signal that had crossed from Lomé to eastern Burkina in December. Within hours our technicians confirmed it. The same frequencies matched devices once used by men loyal to Paul Henri Sandaogo Damiba, the very man I overthrew in 2022. Hearing that name again reminded me of how far we've come, and how far some are still willing to fall. Damiba, after his fall, fled to Togo, claiming he only wanted peace. But I knew he could never accept the new path Burkina Faso had chosen. He had once worn the same uniform as me, yet we were different types of soldiers. He wanted comfort, connection with the old order. I wanted liberation for my people. It was that difference that brought us here. Now I learned he had been plotting from exile, coordinating with some bitter elements inside our borders. Officers who lost their ranks after corruption investigations, civilians who saw their privileges stripped away, and most dangerously, terrorist groups that have been tormenting the Sahel. I could hardly believe it at first. For a man who once marched under the same flag to now work with JNM, the jihadists who have massacred innocent Burkinabe men, women and children, how could anyone sink so low? But when lust for power consumes the soul, loyalty to the homeland disappears. Our intercepts revealed that Damiba's group had chosen the weekend of January 4th to act. Their plan was cold and calculated. They would assassinate specific figures in my inner circle, my security chief and 2 senior commanders, and blame the attacks on terrorist infiltrations. While confusion spread in the capital, JNM fighters hiding in border zones would launch raids to amplify panic. By the time order collapsed, their faction inside the military would step in to restore security, a classic pretext for coup d'etat. That was their dream. But our intelligence had quietly entered their nightmares. Guided by Muhuzi's warning, I ordered total surveillance. We did not rush. Timing is everything in this game. By watching, we identified the web. Every contact, every secret channel, every meeting place. We even located the safe houses in Ouagadougou and Koudougou where they planned to store weapons. On the night of January 4th, I called General Muhuzi again. He picked up immediately. "Brother," I told him, "you were right. We have their map. Tomorrow we close it." He simply replied, "Then finish it silently. Let history record success, not blood." And so we did. Before dawn on Saturday, teams moved on every target simultaneously, in the capital, in Bobo Dioulasso, and along the southern corridor. One by one they were taken without violence. By 8 a.m., the entire structure of the coup had collapsed. Those who had sworn to strike found themselves encircled and disarmed before they could send a single signal. When word reached me that all key arrests were complete, I stepped outside the presidential residence and felt the sun on my face. For a moment I closed my eyes and thanked God and every Burkinabe soul that prayed for our peace. And yes, I thanked Muhuzi, the brother whose voice had traveled across the continent to save another African's life. We kept the operation quiet, announcing only that an attempt to destabilize the nation had been foiled. But the truth spread quickly through the people, and then something extraordinary happened. It was not fear, it was faith. Tens of thousands poured into the streets of Ouagadougou and Bobo Dioulasso, chanting patriotic songs, carrying our flag and declaring that Burkina Faso would not fall to traitors again. When I saw those crowds, young and old, men and women, even children with painted faces of red, green and gold, I understood once again why we fight. They were not defending me as a person. They were defending what we represent, the freedom of Africans to stand on their own feet. Many outside our continent will never understand this. They call us undemocratic because we came through a revolution, not an election. But tell me, what is more democratic than a people who choose their leader so openly, so voluntarily in the streets, without coercion, without money, without campaigns? Democracy is not a ritual of ballots alone. It's the collective will of the people. And my people have spoken again and again. They do not want foreign puppets returning to power. Some ask why the West barely reported the incident. I'll tell you why. Because our success doesn't serve their narrative. When terrorists attack, they write about Burkina Faso. When foreign forces withdraw, they debate Burkina Faso. But when a small African country saves itself through African cooperation, using African intelligence and African courage, they go silent. Their silence tells a story louder than any headline. Let me return to the man at the center of this plot, Paul-Henri Damiba. Yes, it's true that he once sat in the same seat I occupy now. But leadership is not about chairs. It's about choice. When he was in power, nearly 40% of our country was controlled by terrorists. He chose negotiation over resistance. He chose political comfort over national sacrifice. We removed him not because of ambition, but because his method was failing our people. Now the same man returns to plot with the very groups he once pretended to fight. That betrayal shows he never wanted to end the war. He wanted to use it. And there are questions still unanswered. How could such plans be hatched in Togo without the knowledge of its authorities? I will not accuse directly, because Burkina Faso believes in diplomacy. But I appeal to my brother Faure Gnassingbé. If the same soil protects those who plot against their African neighbors, then we will all suffer. Peace cannot be built on double games. Some analysts say Togo is trying to be friends with everyone, France and the alliance of Sahel states alike. But neutrality cannot mean harboring enemies of the African Renaissance. We must learn to stand for something clear, for the freedom of Africa from neo-colonial hands, and for solidarity among African nations. And it is that solidarity that saved us this time. We did not need foreign embassies, foreign bases, or foreign advisors to protect our sovereignty. An African brother, Muhuzi, warned me. My Burkinabe officers worked day and night using tools we built ourselves. Our people stood ready to defend their country without being paid. That is how nations survive. Not through aid, but through unity. Today I think often about the moment that changed everything. That midnight call from Kampala. Had we ignored it, Burkina Faso might once again be on the front pages as a failed state. But we answered our own call. And when the dust settled, I knew this episode was bigger than our own country. It was a message to all Africans that our continent's future belongs to those who trust each other. That's why I say openly, this Pan-African solidarity is our shield. We need to create mechanisms for shared intelligence, for rapid intervention, for mutual protection, not wait for foreign soldiers to save us. Uganda in the platoon, they sent a warning. African technology did the rest. In the days that followed, our security forces moved quietly. We did not conduct mass purges or bloody retaliation. Those genuinely deceived by Damiba were given the confess. Those who knew what they were doing will face military justice. Our strength today comes from discipline, not fear. When our people heard that I had personally spoken with General Muhuzi, gratitude spread beyond Burkina Faso. Across social media, using the words #thanks Muhuzi and #Africa protects Africa. For the first time in a long while, the continent was speaking a new language, not of blame but of brotherhood. It reminded me of the spirit of Thomas Sankara, our eternal comrade, who once said that the day Africans stand together, foreign masters will tremble. That day is coming. To those who still trap Africa in colonial patterns of divide and rule, I say this: your era is ending. Each time an African leader chooses to help another without strings attached, a new chapter opens. Muhuzi's gesture wasn't just a phone call. It was the sound of a continent reawakening. And to my brothers and sisters in Burkina Faso I say, the revolution is safe, but we must not sleep. Those who plotted this coup may try again, or others will replace them. We shall stay vigilant, build our own technologies, feed our own people, and educate our children to love their motherland above foreign promises. If another force ever dares to undermine Burkina Faso, they won't face me alone. They'll face a continent that is awakening. From Kampala to Bamako, from Niamey to Ouagadougou, a network of conscious Africans is rising. And that's why this time, the enemy failed before it even began. When I reflect on those January days, I don't see a coup. I see a lesson that power means responsibility, that loyalty means sacrifice, and that true leadership is not about titles but about trust. And because of trust between me and my people, and between me and brothers like Muhuzi, we prevailed. Today our intelligence continues to evolve. We are investing in technology and training that allows us to anticipate threats instead of simply reacting. We share knowledge with our partners in Mali and Niger, and now, informally, with Uganda as well. We have entered a new era, where African nations can defend each other intellectually, as well as militarily. So to every Burkinabe citizen listening to me now, do not believe the rumors. Do not believe those who wish to divide us. We survived because we trusted each other. We will succeed because we continue to trust. Let this episode teach future generations that betrayal can be foiled by unity, and that foreign plots wither when Africans stand shoulder to shoulder. I end as I began with thanks. To our intelligence officers who worked through the night, to the citizens who filled the streets with courage instead of fear, and especially to General Muhuzi Kainerugaba, my brother from Uganda, thank you. History will remember not just that a coup was thwarted, but that Africans chose to protect one another. And to those who still believe they can buy our souls with money or instability, I have one message. Burkina Faso is awake, Africa is awake, and we are never going back.